Hey guys, I just want to start this video off with the end result so you guys know what you're getting yourself into, before we get started. This case was not easy by any means. Patient had an underbite. Preps didn't make it easy, but we worked around it. But this is what we ended up with. This is our final design. And our goal here was to go for a natural appearance, or in other words, as I mentioned, before, or as you're about to see, we're trying to make perfect imperfections, and that's just a great way to summarize making a case look natural. This isn't perfect, and this wasn't an easy case to design, but that's kind of why I want to showcase it for you guys. And here's our final result. Let me throw on the lower jaw. And I'll show you guys that underbite just by clicking control. You can see where these preps are. I'm going to head into the next clip. Hope you guys enjoy. Hey everyone, just wanted to get a quick video of this design. There may be some tips and tricks involved to improve this patient's smile. I haven't started this design yet, so you guys will be seeing everything live as it happens. But this patient has somewhat of an underbite. It's not too severe. We'll see what we end up doing. I'm thinking it's going to be more of an end-to-end bite by the time we get done with the design. I don't think we'll be able to put these teeth into proper occlusion without making, these crowns, sticking way out. They would be way too protrusive if we decided to give this a normal occlusion. It just wouldn't work out in terms of functionality or aesthetics. So I'm thinking end-to-end bite, but we'll just see as we dive in what we end up doing as far as positioning the teeth and what kind of occlusion we end up with. So, with that being said, let's set our parameters. And for anteriors, Emacs, I usually set the minimal thickness to 500, anywhere from 500 to 700. Setting your minimal thickness from 500 to 700, that's going to leave your thinnest point at about, half a millimeter to 0.7 of a millimeter, which is plenty fine for the anterior region, especially if the tooth isn't in contact with the opposing. So, and you will get better proposals setting your minimal thickness at a lower setting. That way, the proposals aren't too bulbous and you're getting something that's more detailed and fine. So let's move on from here. We'll also up the spacer on these because there were some considerable undercuts just because of the way that they were prepped. It's not that I don't think they'll seat, but it would be nice to have some more space to allow for more room for these crowns to seat. We'll apply to similar restorations. Okay. We'll leave the morphology at biogeneric. Move into positioning. So here's something I would like your guys' thoughts on, and feel free to just leave a comment or just message me directly. But if this were your patient, because there isn't very much extra cost if we were to do this, would you cantilever a ponic off of the distal of tooth number 6? I know the patient would probably appreciate something like that for not very much extra. Is that something you guys would feel comfortable doing? Is that something that you guys would do, just please, feel free to reach out and let me know what you guys would do. We're not doing it here on this case, but it was just a thought. Okay, so honestly, our proposals aren't too bad. It's a lot better than I expected, but I did skip a couple of steps in the positioning phase, so we're going to go back. And after seeing the proposals, I've also noticed some things I'd like to modify. So for number 9, it looks like it's coming in a little bit angled, so we'll turn this just slightly, just rotate it, bring it out a little bit more that direction. Take away the lower jaw. The height's good. It could even be a little bit wider, so we'll scale it to about there. That's definitely better. And definitely need to scale the linguals of these crowns, which I forgot to do. And you'll notice that after you scale the lingual, there's some more positioning to be done. But that should be good. And because of those undercuts, because there isn't much of a shoulder on these preps, we will have some minimal thickness issues down at the margin, but you know, you got to just work around that. After these are milled, we'll probably then manually bring that in, because if we tried to make everything ideal in the design, we would get some chipping on the margin, which is never fun to deal with. So that's good. As far as the lingual aspect of the crowns and the overall positioning, let's just check. Everything's positioned pretty well. We could bring these out a little bit, these centrals. Make a thicker crown, allow for some fine detailed anatomy after they're milled. Because when everything's too thin in the design after it's milled, there isn't much room left for anatomy. That's good. It's all good. So as of right now, our occlusion is good, given, you know, what this patient currently has. Given what we currently have to work with, the occlusion isn't bad. There isn't very much contact on these crowns except for on on the laterals, tooth number 7 and 10. There's none at all on the cuspid, so we'll adjust that manually. But let's just start doing what we would typically do, and then we'll hammer out the occlusion after everything's designed the way we like it. So let's start with the laterals, and let's determine the shape using biogeneric variation. Let's take a look at the lower dentition to get an idea of what we want to do. There's a lot of wear here, so we don't want something too round. Maybe something more flat would be appropriate for this patient. So it's a male, and male teeth typically do have a little bit more wear. They're a little flatter on the incisal, so we'll take that into consideration as well. And as we're doing this, before we made any adjustments, the teeth, they appeared a bit protrusive. It looks like they're coming out a lot. So let's focus on the gingival cervical aspect of the crown, and wherever we get something more bulbous, kind of like here, it's going to kind of eliminate the illusion that they're coming out. So anything that we get more bulbous at the cervical, it's going to make the teeth appear more flat and natural, which is how, you know, you'd want it to look. So definitely not there. There. Let's stay in this range, and we could flatten things out manually. Turned out great. So we'll then focus on the laterals individually, and then move on to the cuspids and save the centrals for last. And see, we're going to have minimal thickness issues here because of the way that these were prepped. You know, more of a margin would have been ideal for designing at least. So just have to work around it. So by doing that, that's going to bring things into contact, and we'll use the position tool to rotate it back where we want it. there. And once we take away this contact, it's going to naturally flatten out the incisal edge, which is what we wanted to do anyways. So, shape tool individual, and let's see if that's what happens. Somewhat there. There's not much room left for occlusion either, so. Okay, so we're working on this minimal thickness up here. And everything that you do, you want it to build into, you want everything to build into itself. So want to make gradual lines, and you don't want anything to be real harsh unless you're matching another tooth form or another tooth's anatomy. From the margin down to the incisal edge, you want everything to kind of gradually build into itself. So that's good from there. Let's see if we can, no, we may just have to leave that thin right there. And we will. No problem doing that. Let's check the thickness of it. Yeah, even though it's showing minimal thickness, we've got 0.3 millimeters of thickness according to the software, so that's plenty safe to mill. So for the embrasures, let's move over to 4-directional individual, and we're going to do this for this crown as well as all the others. I'm going to just sharpen up these incisal embrasures. And from there you can kind of define the whole contour line a little bit more by just looking at it from an angle and bringing it out like this. And you want to keep the circular tool somewhat small in size so that you're really defining everything. You're zeroing in on one area. It's nice. And we want these contour lines to build into itself. Gradually build into itself. See, so when you look at things from this angle, you've kind of got this harsh bump right here. You can either build into it by bringing out the rest, or you can eliminate it to blend it all in. Do a little bit of both. That's just my technique, that's just what I do. So from the gin, we are bringing it out, but let's make the rest, the middle third of the crown, the body, Let's make the rest of that blend in with the gin. Let it build into itself. No harshness, no contrast. Which, again, there's nothing wrong with that if you're matching another tooth's anatomy, but we're not here. We're making everything like new. And we'll do contacts last, so I'm not worried about that either right now. And you shouldn't be either. First, get the shape the way you want it. Get everything aligned where you want it. Contacts, save them for last. Okay. Let's save where we're at so we don't lose that. God, I love what I do. Those laterals look nice, real nice. We can maybe bring things out right here, this mesial contour line, and if we do bring it out, it'll kind of make this more in line, but this kind of does give it a natural appearance, if you guys can see what I'm talking about, where the light's reflecting on that contour line. If we turn it from this way, you could see it can come out right here, but then again, in nature, nothing's perfect, and that's kind of what makes it perfect. I like it. Let's just leave that the way it is. Okay, onto the cuspids. We've got no contact here, and this is where we're gonna want contact on these cuspids to kind of keep occlusal interference away from the laterals and the centrals, which are weaker teeth. So let's bring these down, and we may need to flatten out these cuspids. They may have a flatter design or flatter appearance, which is okay at the incisal. It'll kind of match the opposing. So we'll lengthen those just for now to get them into contact. And then, you know what? And I just realized after you use biogeneric variation, pretty much all adjustments that you make to the teeth go away. So we're going to first do biogeneric variation, then increase the length of the cuspids. Okay, so if you've made it this far in the video, congratulations, because you've pretty much just seen how to make something that is very difficult to design look somewhat decent. Our goal here, given this patient's condition, was to make these teeth look as natural as possible, or in other words, add perfect imperfections. This is not a simple or easy case, but there's no fun in really only displaying simple and easy cases. Something like this, I feel like you'd be able to get a lot more out of, and you guys watching may get a lot more out of that. Seeing what kind of techniques to use to make something like this look good. So again, congratulations. All I'm going to do after this is fix the midline and make some nice natural embrasure forms or emergence forms, and work on the embrasures a little bit, and then finish up the contacts. And finishing up the contacts will pretty much take care of that emergence and the embrasures, but as well as the midline. So we're just doing contacts, and as far as occlusion, may bring out this lingual a little bit on both of the cuspids, but this case is just about done. So this design is all finished up. I'm very happy with the results. Natural, beautiful aesthetics. This patient started off with a pretty, it wasn't necessarily a severe underbite, but it was definitely noticeable. And we've ended up with some nice occlusion. We've got a nice cuspid rise. Some spotting may need to be done under this lateral. But other than that, super thrilled with the results, as you can tell from the tone of my voice. But yeah, if you've made it this far, again, congratulations. This was not an easy design at all for me, so hopefully you got something out of it. Till next time.